Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel on this playlist of Life Be Lifing, where we basically discuss different life experiences according to my eyes and how I experience different situations in life. That's what I would say. So for this particular episode, it's a very vulnerable topic for me to discuss, but I decided I wanted to discuss this topic just because I, like many other people, have been helped or encouraged by other people on social media, on YouTube, on TikTok, who have been able to share their experiences. And when I first started going through my TTC journey, as you can see, that's the title of this episode, it was very difficult to find people's stories on either on YouTube or just anywhere online, just because not many people share when they're going through this particular experience. It's mostly seen as a shameful experience that no one should talk about, especially coming from the African context. It's something I never had anyone speaking about. It is just I thought I was the first one to ever experience this kind of journey, and later on in life is when I've seen different people coming out and being able to speak about it, and I was like, oh, okay, so it's something that different people have experienced, and I decided I wanted to share my journey so that if there's anyone who is going through a similar experience, we can be able to encourage each other and know that you're not alone, and that there are other people who are also in this process. There are other people who are in waiting. There are other people who are looking forward to their prayers being answered, like me. It's something that I'm looking forward to, and because I like smiling so much and laughing so much, I'm going to find it difficult to not be smiling in this episode, because I think it's kind of a somber episode. But yeah, just allow me to smile as I walk you through my journey, and yeah, hopefully it will encourage even one person. Hopefully it will be able to tell someone that yeah, there are other people that who are walking this journey and that you're not alone. Yes, so I'm going to start from the beginning of my journey, which was when I got married around several years ago. It's so many years now, but yeah. So when I first got married, because of course when you come from the African culture, it's different for different cultures. But for us at that time, we were being encouraged to, of course, get married. First, okay, finish school if you're in school, get married, and then get the kids and all that. So for me, my what I had planned in my mind, because anyway, we say that we plan a lot of things and God laughs. So for me, my what was in my thought at the time is that I will be able to finish uni, get married after that, maybe stay a couple of years, and then yes, hopefully have kids after that. So when I got married, I was still doing my masters at the time, because I'd finished uni, got married, then I was like, okay, I need to do my masters, and then after that, hopefully have kids. So during that time, between the time I got married and the time that we started trying, I was, of course, on contraceptives, and I was like, okay, I'm going to use these contraceptives for this particular amount of time, finish my masters, and hopefully, yeah, stop using the contraceptives, and yeah, boom, have the kids, and life continues in this, I guess, line that we tell ourselves life is supposed to follow. Like, there's this line that life is supposed to follow, and if it doesn't follow that particular line, we get into this thing in our mind where we cannot be able to fathom. Particularly me, I was not able to understand, wait, this is the plan that I had set out for myself. What is happening? Why are these kids not coming? So I think a year into trying, or just over a year into trying, trying to conceive, I was advised by some friends that, what, maybe you need to go get checked and stuff like that, because I think after a year of trying, most doctors will consider you, they call it, is it, yeah, uh, like you're starting the infertility journey, like after 1 year when you have not been able to conceive. So for me, it was 1 year, over 1 year, just over 1 year, and I decided, okay, yeah, let's go see the doctors. But of course, also coming from a family of faith where we pray for everything and everything is supposed to be answered when we pray, the first point of everyone's thoughts was, okay, let's pray about this and God is going to come through. You're going to get the baby. And even for people in my family, I know that some people were like, no, we don't have like infertility in our family, everyone's super fertile. There's no way you can be having like an infertility thing going on with you. So the first year when we went to the doctors, and there's some tests that they do at the moment I started the tests, I was in Kenya, and we did there's a test that they call HSG test. So where basically they put a liquid into your uterus to check if the tubes, yeah, I'm not kind of teaching biology, if the tubes in the uterus are able to kind of have liquids going through them, so they know whether they're open or they're blocked. So for me, when they put in the tubes, I don't have the correct medical terms. Even as I'm speaking about this, I would just speak about it in my perspective, in layman's language, according to how I interpreted everything. So when they put the liquid in, they're like, okay, we can see that your tubes have an issue. It seems like your tubes are blocked. So, of course, at that moment, I was in panic. I was like, okay, what do you mean they're blocked? What is that? No one taught us this in biology. No one taught us this in school. So, what are you speaking about? So, of course, now I had to go and research. It's like I was not in a biology class, because I had to kind of revisit everything. And I was on the internet being like, okay, so what does the uterus look like? Where are the fallopian tubes? How how are the fallopian tubes affecting my fertility? How does that work? So I went into Googling, because even when they did the test, they don't really give you like a, what is it called, like a detailed explanation as to what the results mean. They're just like, okay, so these are the results, and yeah, go for the gyna to be able to explain to you what that means. And even when the gyna tries to explain to you, especially me at the time, I was just like, wait, what does this even mean? It's not something I've ever had in my life. In my family, everyone pops babies like super fast. Like, I have never heard of anyone being in such a scenario. So after the first test, I was like, for me being a Christian, I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna give it a little bit more time. I'm gonna be patient, because that's another thing that people tell you, like, just be patient, relax, it's gonna happen, like, stop stressing yourself and whatnot. But I think at the time, the most difficult thing of course, waiting, even now, the most difficult thing of waiting is when you see everyone else around you. Everyone is getting babies, everyone is getting pregnant, and then at a certain point, everyone is asking everyone. When you go to an event, everyone has something to say, everyone has something to prophesy about you, coming from a Christian background. And I think that was the most difficult thing at the time, even dealing with it. It was everyone just chiming in. Sometimes I think for me, I would just prefer if people just keep quiet, unless I want to talk about it. It's I don't know if it's necessary for everyone to give their opinion about the experience and what you're going through. Personally, for me, maybe even that's why I'm making this video, is just tell people, ask people to just not always ask about it, unless of course someone has offered to speak about their womb, or someone has offered to speak about their experiences, because different people have different even desires. There are those who want kids, there are those who don't want kids, there are those who are waiting, like me. So being in a position where people are assuming that you want maybe to be asked, or you want to be prayed for, or you want opinions, or you want suggestions of what could happen, most times it comes off very kind of, what is it called when you rub a wound? I don't know what that is called, but yeah, it's like rubbing on a wound that is already there from people. So for me, that was kind of really difficult to navigate. Of course, for now, because my circle knows what is happening, I don't get lots of those questions unless then it's someone new and they ask about it. But if it's someone new, I give them the grace. I'm just like, okay, because for example, because I'm also always moving jobs, so every time I go to a new job, there's always the question of so when are you having kids? Do you want kids? When is it happening? And then for some people, I usually tell them I'm just starting now. I'm starting to try now, just so that I'm not getting all those questions. So I think it's just good to be empathetic to everyone, and not to always give your opinions about people's wombs. That's what I would say about that. So that was kind of the first phase of my TTC journey. And then when that happened, or was it, I think this was before, I think the very first step was where they give you if you go and you tell them you're trying to conceive and it hasn't happened for over a year, they give you some drugs to help you with ovulation. And for me, when I was given the drugs to ovulate, they give you for a certain amount of time. At this moment, I can't remember how long I used them for, but they give you the drugs to ovulate, to help you ovulate, because the first thing that they assume is that maybe ovulation is not happening as it should. So they give you that, and then you're told, of course, to buy the ovulation kit to try and track your ovulation to see what is the best time for you to be able to conceive according to your ovulation time. So you have to track. It's just like tracking your period. You have to track everything. So for me, that was the first phase of the, I think, yeah, that one was the first one where they helped me with the ovulation. So that didn't work. Then that's when I went into the HSG. Then that didn't work. And then, yeah, so for me, I think at the time I was still young, so I was not thinking too much about it. At the time, I was just like, you know what, there's other stuff that I need to do in life. So I was just focusing on that, focusing on my work, trying to be busy. At the time, I was not focusing on that too much. So after, I think a couple of maybe 2-3 years is when I was like, wait, this is still not happening. After they did the first HSG test, this is still not happening. So after that, of course, I went online to see what are other people's experiences, what have they done, and you get so much information. And of course, being in that situation, you're like, wait, I could try everything. I could try this, I could try that. There are people who tell you, use this, take some herbal tea, do this and that. And then I think, because in the previous episode, I've spoken about my weight loss journey. The doctor would also be like, you need to lose weight, and then at that time you're trying to lose the weight and it's not coming off. You're trying everything. You're trying the intermittent fasting, you're trying to do your steps, you're trying to work out, do cardio, and the weight is not coming out, I guess, according to how they would want it to be, because of course at that time I had gained a little bit of weight from the time that I got married. So so that happened, and then the next phase was I decided to get another HSG test. So at this point, up to now, I've taken like 2 HSG tests, and I think the second test also showed the same thing. So what I decided to do, even when I was speaking to the doctor, I was like, okay, so what are my options now? Because I've done 2 HSG tests, they've showed the same thing. Because sometimes they tell you if you do the HSG test, it might open your tubes or something, just because of the force that goes through them. So then if that doesn't happen, then of course you need to look at, okay, what are your other options? So the 2 options that were there were, they told me you could either do a laparoscopy, or you could do, or the other option of course would be to do IVF. So those were the 2 options that were given to me at the time. With everything that was happening, I think that was the time when COVID happened, and there was a lot of things, there was a lot of uncertainty of things that were going on at the moment, and the hospitals were flooded. Of course, we were being told, if it's as much as possible not to go to the hospital and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I'll just wait a little bit longer. And so I didn't do the laparoscopy as I had thought I would do. I let that go. And so the next step for me was to think, and maybe I should mention that the HSG test was quite painful. I did it twice and it was quite painful. So once I did, once the COVID had kind of died down, I had of course a situation where we were moving countries, and I was like, I will still do a little bit of waiting on that, and there was a lot going on. So moving countries, we came to the UK, and after that I was like, okay, I would need to go into the next phase. If it's IVF that we are looking into, I was like, okay, let's try the IVF. So there are like several IVF clinics in the UK that are a bit standardized in terms of pricing. So I decided to go with a clinic that was, the price was not so much. So I went to this clinic, and then they tell you, because they have a standardized amount, that you have to be a certain BMI. At that moment, I was just at that nick of the BMI that they needed, because they were like, you can't have a BMI of 30 or more, and I was like at 29. So I started the process of the IVF, where basically they give you several drugs which will help you again with the ovulation. But this time what happens is they're going to like collect the eggs from your body. So they gave me the drugs. I used to inject myself severally during over a certain period of time. So you're given, you can either, so for this one it was a natural IVF process. So because it was a natural IVF process, it follows your cycle. So for me, it was following my cycle. I have a cycle of, I think, 26 or 25 days. So they were following that cycle to be able to, to go through with the IVF. So the first process was, of course, trying to get the eggs. So they tried to, the medication that they give you in the beginning is to help you as much as possible be able to harvest as much eggs in the beginning, to be able to do to kind of mix the egg and the sperm, so that in the lab, so that you can be able to get embryos which would then be inputted into your body. So the first IVF for me, because I've done 2 so far, the first IVF I got, by the grace of God, I was able to get several eggs. I can't remember how many eggs they were now. Maybe they were like 16 or something, which is quite good. It was quite good egg count that I got out of that. And then they were able to put everything together. And then I think I got around, is it 6 or 7 embryos out of that, because not all the eggs survive the laboratory kind of mixing of the sperm and the eggs. So because of that, then you're given a date. So you're told, do you want to continue going with your cycle and do like the IVF, the first IVF insemination? So for me, I was like, I wanted to go through with it immediately. So we went through the whole process. The embryo was put inside my uterus, and then they tell you, now we just have to wait and see if the embryo implants or not. So the first embryo that was put in, and because it is a standardized IVF, they couldn't put more than 1 embryo in. And what they told me is that the quality of the embryo of the first IVF was quite good. It was like the best. So they're like, okay, we're so hopeful this is gonna go great. It's the best grade of embryo that we could put in. So we are really hopeful that it's gonna work. So of course, also me, I was so hopeful. I was excited. I was like, yes, this is my dream. It's gonna come true. when they did what is it called, the first implant. Yeah, that's the word I've been looking for. When they did like the first no, implant is when the embryo implants on the uterus, so that's not it. But yeah, so when they did the first, they put the embryo into the uterus, I think after 2 weeks, because I could feel it inside my body, it was kind of trying to implant, and then I think it didn't work. So after like the first 2-3 weeks, my period came, and it was like super devastating. It was horrible. You feel all these feelings, all these emotions, like, why isn't it happening? And then at the same time, you're asking God, like, why is this not working? What is wrong with me? And the reason that I decided to put this video out there is because there's also a lot of shame that is given to women who are trying to conceive, not knowing their story, not knowing what they're going through. So for me, I decided to talk about this, to be able to remove the shame from it, to be able to share the experience that I am going through, to share the experience that other people might be going through, but because we do not know, most times we would start giving our own opinions. We would start just saying maybe they don't want to get pregnant, or they're looking at, some people even say you're looking after your figure, you don't want to lose your figure. Like, people say a lot of insensitive things, but for me, I wanted to give my experience to be able to remove that shame from it, because it's part of life. For some people, life be lifing. So for me, lifing has been this TTC journey, trying to conceive. And if I could think about the Bible, I think there's a point that Paul says that he has a thorn in his flesh, and he never really clarified on what that was. So I think for me, this is kind of that thorn in my flesh that has been there for a really long time. And yeah, just getting it out there. And also, maybe when someone asks me, I'll just be like, go watch my video, so that you don't ask me questions. And also some of the stories, of course, that have encouraged me have been like so many Bible stories of people who went through similar experiences. But I think when we were reading them when we were young, it was not clocking in our mind that this is something that could happen to us or could happen to someone that was close to us. So some of the stories, that's what I wanted to mention. So some of the stories, of course, were the stories of Sarah and Abraham. But actually, let me bring my Bible, and I'm able to read that so that I'm not misquoting anything. So give me a minute and I'll be back. Yes, so I'm going to read from the book of 1 Samuel, chapter 1. There was a certain man from Ramathaim, a Zuphite from the hill country of Ephraim, whose name was Elkanah, son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuph, an Ephraimite. He had 2 wives, one was called Hannah and the other Peninnah. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had none. Year after year, this man went up from his town to worship and sacrifice to the Lord Almighty at Shiloh, where Hophni and Phinehas, the 2 sons of Eli, were priests of the Lord. Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of meat to his wife Peninnah and to all her sons and daughters. But to Hannah he gave a double portion because he loved her. And the Lord had closed her womb. Because the Lord had closed Hannah's womb, her rival kept provoking her in order to irritate her. This went on year after year. Whenever Hannah went up to the house of the Lord, her rival provoked her till she wept and would not eat. Her husband Elkanah would say to her, Hannah, why are you weeping? Why don't you eat? Why are you downhearted? Don't I mean more to you than 10 sons? Once, when they had finished eating and drinking in Shiloh, Hannah stood up. Now Eli the priest was sitting on his chair by the doorpost of the Lord's house. In her deep anguish, Hannah prayed to the Lord, weeping bitterly. And she made a vow, saying, Lord Almighty, if you will only look on your servant's misery and remember me, and not forget your servant, but give her a son, then I will give him to the Lord for the days of his life, and no razor will ever be used on his head. As she kept on praying to the Lord, Eli observed her mouth. Hannah was praying in her heart, and her lips were moving, but her voice was not heard. Eli thought she was drunk and said to her, "How long are you going to stay drunk? Put away your wine." "Not so, my lord," Hannah replied. "I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I have not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. Do not take your servant for a wicked woman. I have been praying here out of my great anguish and grief." Eli answered, "Go in peace, and may the God of Israel grant you what you have asked of him." She said, "May your servant find favor in your eyes." Then she went her way and ate something, and her face was no longer downcast. Early the next morning, they rose and worshipped before the Lord, and then went back to their home at Ramah. Elkanah made love to his wife Hannah, and the Lord remembered her. So in the course of time, Hannah became pregnant and gave birth to a son who she named Samuel, saying, "Because I asked the Lord for him." When her husband Elkanah went up with all his family to offer the annual sacrifice to the Lord and to fulfill his vow, Hannah did not go. She said to her husband, "After the boy is weaned, I will take him and present him before the Lord, and he will live there always." Yes, so I'm going to leave that there. I didn't think I was going to read the Bible, but here we go. So so that's one of the stories that encourages me, and I think I've spoken of the story of Abraham and Sarah and so many other people in the Bible who have gone through similar situation, and those are the kind of stories that encourage me, and that is one of the main reasons that I decided to make this video, is because there's different people who are going through different experiences, and if we do not share, then we are not able to encourage each other. We are not able to feel like we belong, to feel like someone understands our story, someone understands us, if we are able to kind of continue living in some kind of shame, because there's a lot of shame that is associated with women, especially who are trying to conceive. So for me, it was just to demystify that shame and to let people who are going through similar situations to know that there are other people who are in this journey with you. There are other people who are experiencing what you're experiencing, and to be encouraged, because just like all these stories in the Bible, even stories in real life of people who we know have gone through similar situations and they've been able to conceive, or people even who are in waiting for different things, because waiting is not just people who are trying to conceive. You can be waiting for so many other different things, and it is good to have encouragement. It is good when people tell their stories and you're able to feel like, someone understands me. So that's one of the main reasons that I decided to make this video, knowing that it is quite a vulnerable video. On the IVF, I don't know if I finished on that. I've done two IVF so far. I have some embryos that are still stored in the freezer somewhere, and the main reason that I think my journey has also taken so long is because of financing. Because of course, if you're going through IVF, if you're going through different kind of fertility treatments, it is not cheap. It's quite expensive. Even when I say I've done 2 IVFs, you have to save a lot to be able to do something like that. And I think for me, that's why maybe it's taken longer, but also I know it is all in God's plan, and I trust that He has the best plans for me, the best intentions for my life. The 2 IVFs that I did not go through, and they did not really say that there was an explanation for it. They were just like, the embryos were perfect, they were the perfect grade, they had like the perfect chances of implanting and growing to become beautiful babies, but that didn't happen. So that was that journey for IVF. But as I've said, I still have embryos. I could still go and give it another go, but for now, just taking some time off again, and also just trying to recalibrate for some finances, just in case we want to go through the process again. So that's my journey. It is just for encouragement purposes. It's to be able to make others feel that we're in this journey together. I'm going to link down again my my website, which is just for women who want to work together, women who want to be, to have communities around them, just to know that you're not alone, that you're taking this journey with other women and with other people who can be able to understand your story. So I've put the link below just in case you want to be part of the community. And yeah, let's walk this journey together, because no one is an island. No man is to live life alone. We all need communities. And for me, I am hopeful. That is why I'm giving my story. I am hopeful, and it is to give hope to other people. And it is, for me to also remember, when the prayer is answered, when it does happen, that I can come back to this and be like, okay, the prayer was answered, and and it was able to encourage several people out there who are going through similar situations. So I think that's it for today. I just wanted to share my trying to conceive story, and I hope it will encourage someone, even if it's just one person. And I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much for joining me. Goodbye.